spending the next 3 days talking about innovation and where innovation comes from and what it takes to encourage innovation. Imagination is the first step.
Imagination is the critical step, and it's the one everybody misses. You know, people talk about wanting more innovation, but innovation is a process result. Imagination is actually the fuel. You're not going to get innovation if you don't have imagination. So the first question I would ask is your organization rewarding imagination, or is it simply rewarding innovation? Well, if you're rewarding innovation, you're rewarding the end of a process. If you're actually rewarding imagination, that's a very different kind of organization. Apple, driven by imagination. Nike, driven by imagination. It's not an afterthought in those organizations. It's right in the core. Imagination drives good problem formation, because imagination thinks about customers. What do customers want? You have to imagine to be in the customer's role. What might my customers want tomorrow? What might my customers want in 6 months, a year, 2 years that they don't want today? That's imagination.
Can you do it in big companies?
Absolutely. There's nothing magical about big or small. I mean, the challenge in all companies is we're busy running the company. You're operating an enterprise. And it's very difficult when you're operating an enterprise to detach and spend time imagining. I spent 10 years working on inventing and imagining. I wasn't running a company while I did it. I had a team of people, about 30 of us, and we focused on about 15 different industries. And in each case, we put together a very diverse team. What you find are teams of people who have the same mind about things rarely come up with really interesting ideas. But teams that are very differentiated, that literally don't often get along with each other, those are teams that can imagine things. Each time I choose an object, it's because it fits into that history of imagination. And because the king was getting tired of people claiming they were dead and not paying their tax, okay, the English came up with a great idea, okay? A leap of imagination. You needed a certificate to die, okay? So to be dead in England, okay, you need a death certificate. The English invent the idea of a death certificate, and you could only get it from your local priest, who was less likely to swear you were dead if you weren't. Once they started having death certificates, they sent them in to the king, and somebody had this idea to say, well, each week, why don't we write down all the reasons people died this week? In a very British way, they're keeping perfect records. All right, 7,000 people are dying of the plague, and yet, you know, this is every other data. Now, why does this matter in the history of imagination? Because here the plague peaks, and it starts to go down. And here's what happens. They see a curve. They see a pattern in the data. Now, nobody had ever seen a pattern in data before this book was published. Nobody. They'd seen patterns in your palm. They'd seen patterns in the sky. But this was patterns in the data. And from this book, statistics, life insurance, and public health, 3 industries are born from one book. In the same year this book is published, the first great scientific bestseller in history is published. And the book sold out in one day because Hooke showed images like this of the fly, an eye of a fly. Now, flies are very common in 1665 London. They're everywhere.
No one had quite seen
Nobody
that
had ever
before.
seen the microworld. So for the first time, in addition to patterns in the data, there was a world of information, a world that nobody had ever seen, and it freaked everybody out. That in this book, he shows images of the fleas, and ironically, it's the fleas that are spreading the plague. But he has no idea that this animal here is exactly what's riding on the rats that's spreading the plague, that's killing them all. So here's the same year as here. This is the vector that is killing everything.
Fascinating. And the common thread is data and observation.
Yeah, the common thread is he has opened up a world of imagination. Once this book comes out, people start imagining there is a world we can't see. Now, in the past, the world we couldn't see was God and spirituality. Here's a world we can't see except when we use a microscope, and then we can see it. Because this is the first attempt to wire up across an ocean, literally to connect 2 continents across an ocean. The idea that you can literally lay a wire on the floor of an ocean.
Communication.
Communication. So the idea of imagination drives history, but it drives it very slowly, especially in health and medicine, where the inertia is very much against innovation. In addition, in the modern era, we've learned that because we're wrong so often, we would rather be right slower than be wrong fast. Well, that's not how Silicon Valley works. That's not how most businesses work that serve customers. But when customers are people with life and death issues on the line, you can't blame the medical community.
We're going to do more on this topic tomorrow?
We are very much going to be.
Okay, good. We should probably let people get to their meals, but this is great.